Super Wild Card Weekend kicks off on Saturday with a pair of games. Joe Burrow and the Bengals hosting Derek Carr and the Raiders, followed by an AFC East showdown between the Patriots and Bills on CBS. Three more games on Sunday. Tom Brady and the reigning Super Bowl champion Bucs hosting the Eagles. Then it's the 49ers visit the Cowboys. The nightcap takes us to KC, where the Chiefs host the Steelers. Then we've got our first Monday night playoff game, an NFC West showdown, as the Rams host the Cardinals. And keep this in mind when you wager this weekend. Over the past 10 seasons, unders are 27 and 11. That's a 71% clip on Wild Card Weekend. And over the past 4 seasons, underdogs are 15 and 3 against the spread on Wild Card Weekend. For more knowledge, let's welcome in CBS Sports HQ NFL analyst Pete Prisco, Vegas insider Todd Furhman. The Bengals have not won a playoff game since the 1990 season. Joe Burrow and company hosting Derek Carr and the upset-minded Raiders. Cincy, a 5.5-point favorite, totals 49. Bengals Raiders 32-13 in Week 11 is what the Bengals won by over Vegas. Pete, I'd like the Bengals to win the Super Bowl because of 2 things. I've got a 21 ticket on Cincy, and I want them to put even more pressure on the Cleveland Browns. Pete, do you like them to at least cover against Vegas?
I don't. I think they'll win the game, but I don't think they're going to cover. I went back and watched the first meeting, and the game was much closer than that score would indicate. And one of the things you notice from that game is the Raiders pressured the heck out of Joe Burrow without blitzing. They only blitzed twice in that game, and they put him on the ground 3 times and hit him a bunch more. I think that's a problem for the Bengals. I think their pass rush of the Raiders will get to Joe Burrow. I do think they're going to run the ball, and Mixon had a good game the last time they played him. He'll have another good day here. In fact, I like his props over his rushing total. I think they will control the game on the ground. And on the other side, I think the Raiders are going to try and do the same thing. But they have problems at the right side of their offensive line, so they could get some pressure from there as well. So I do think the Bengals will win the game, but I think the number is way too big. I'll take the Raiders in the points.
You know, Pete, you highlighted a couple of the key matchups that I like in this game for it to lend itself quite nicely to going under the total. Joe Mixon had a very productive day against this Raiders defensive front, and it was actually his largest workload in terms of carries all season long. And you look at this Raiders defensive line, Max Crosby had better than a 61% pass rush win rate, his highest of the season by far. And I think a lot of people have become enamored with Joe Burrow and the gaudy numbers he's put up, and rightfully so, in the last 2 regular season games. But people that believe somehow the Bengals are going to be able to wave a magic wand and cure everything that ailed them along this offensive line seems to be a bit of a pipe dream. I think the Raiders can generate enough natural pressure with their front 4 that'll force Burrow to get the ball out of his hands quickly. Meanwhile, on the other side, this Raiders offense is a lot more Josh Jacobs during their recent win streak than it was earlier in the campaign. To Pete, your point, you talked about that game getting squirrely late. It was a 13-9 game going into the 4th quarter. I think you could see a little bit of jitters and nerves from 2 quarterbacks making their playoff debuts. I'm going to go under the total. I think both defenses can have some success.
In the nightcap on Saturday, Patriots and Bills clashing for the 3rd time this season. Split the first 2 meetings. Their first meeting in Buffalo featured 40-mile-per-hour winds. This game back in Western New York, where it's expected to be a brisk 2 degrees at kickoff. Bills are 4-point favorites. Totals 44. Todd, who or what do you like in this one?
I actually like this game. It came over the total at 44. I think when you look at these 2 teams, the numbers that jump off the page at you are the fact that New England and Buffalo are the top 2 defenses in the entire NFL from a points per game standpoint. But as you begin to dig into some of those figures, there's a lot of noise in there. And I think you saw both offenses have some success the second time around because Buffalo came out with an uber aggressive game plan. They threw early, they threw often, and they went for it plenty on 4th down. And if that's the case again in this spot, I think they're going to be able to have success. Matthew Judon's sack production has really fallen off for New England. They're a little bit banged up at the defensive back spot. Kyle Duggar, we're not quite sure if he's going to be available. Jalen Mills is in COVID protocol. And if New England is forced to play from behind, they're not going to be able to commit to running the football with Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris. When you look at Harris, though, he had success in both meetings, more than 100 yards in both contests. I really believe that people are making too much of the frigid temperatures and what'll be good weather to throw the football without any wind. I'm going to go over the total with these 2 teams on Saturday night.
I think the wind is, when it's really whipping, is one of the worst things for football. I hate it. I've said it time and time again. But cold's not so bad. You can throw it the cold, and I think Josh Allen is going to play well here. Look, Bill Belichick, we know what he wants to do. He wants to take away your number one thing that you do well. You can't take away Josh Allen because he can run, he can throw it, he can get outside the pocket and create with his legs, he can run design runs. It's hard to take him away. So I think the Buffalo offense will move the football. And I'm concerned about the Patriots. Mac Jones, 6-6 touchdown interceptions on the road. Yeah, they were 6-2 on the road. 4 of those victories came against Atlanta, Houston, Carolina, and the Jets. I don't think they're as good on the road. Throw the win game out the window, and I think the Bills handle them here. I will take Buffalo minus the points.
All right, 3-pack of games on Sunday. First, Tom Brady and the Bucs hosting the Eagles as 8.5-point favorites. Total's 46. Two teams met back in Week 6. Bucs beat the Eagles 28-22. Philadelphia 0-6 against playoff teams this season. Pete, do you think Jalen Hurts and the Eagles can keep this one close?
I do. And the reason I do is because I think they can run the football. They led the league in rushing. And remember, the last time these two teams met, it was 28-22. And that was the game when they were getting booed for not running the football. Miles Sanders had 9 carries in that game. They took that booing and became the best rushing team in the league. And I know Tampa Bay's been good against the run. They haven't been as good, though. In the last 3 games, they're giving up 15 yards more per rush on the ground. So I think that's per game on the ground. That's a problem. And I think Jalen Hurts in that run game will be able to move the football and control the clock. The other thing we don't know, Akeem, is what is that passing game like for Tampa Bay? Yeah, you could just say, oh, Chris Godwin's out, Antonio Brown's out, but he'll figure out a way. In the postseason, it's different. Everything gets elevated. We'll see if it works in the postseason. I think they slow them down a little bit. I think the Eagles hang around. I think Tampa Bay wins the game, but that's a big number. I'll take the points.
You know, this is a game, guys, where I'm going to reserve the right, Pete, when we break these things down again on Sunday to potentially change my pick, because if Mother Nature plays a big role here, I'm not going to make the same strong case to go over the total like I will right now. But I think the market has reacted strongly to the speculation that you're going to see some wind and rain, especially early on in this contest, from 49.5 down to 45.5. But to your point, talking about Philadelphia, they figured out their identity after that Thursday night game. They started to run the football more aggressively, and they became the most run-heavy team in the entire NFL. And to your point, when you look at Tampa, sure, the raw yardage allowed per game looks great, but they're outside the top 10 in yards per carry, which tells me if Philadelphia is within striking distance, they're going to be able to have some success. And I really expect Nick Sirianni and company to come out, use a little bit of tempo early, especially against some of the key contributors for Tampa that haven't logged regular reps in recent weeks. I mean, they're trying to introduce a handful of guys back into the fold. We'll see how their conditioning holds up. Meanwhile, on the other side, the key matchup where I think Philadelphia can get exposed is covering tight ends. I really believe in the absence of your wide receivers that Pete mentioned, you're going to see a lot more 3 tight end sets. I think the likes of O.J. Howard, Cameron Brate, and Rob Gronkowski will have a field day operating in the middle of the field. I like this game over the total. I think both offenses will have some success, and I'll keep my fingers crossed the weather forecasts are a little bit better than what's being suggested now.
All right, we've got a rivalry renewed between the 49ers and Cowboys on CBS, their first postseason meeting since playing in the NFC Championship in 3 straight seasons from 1992 to 94. Sunday, Dallas is a 3-point favorite, totals 51. Cowboys led the NFL in points per game and yards per game this season. Todd, do you think the 49ers can keep up?
I do, Hakeem, and I think the 49ers will have an excellent chance to win this game outright. They did get some good news on their injury report on Thursday. Trent Williams back at practice, and he is arguably the most valuable cog that this team has on their offensive line to try and create a path for Elijah Mitchell and this ground game to have some success against Dallas. This is a Cowboys team, in my opinion, that has performed extremely well. To your points, when you look at how they've been defensively, they've actually been better on that side of the ball than they have on the offensive side. But I think a lot of their success this year has been the byproduct of fattening up against the NFC East, where they've gone 6-0, and their points per game numbers significantly better there than they were in non-divisional games. This will be a 49ers team that leaves a lot to be desired in their secondary, but when you have Emmanuel Mosley back, you have Dre Greenlaw, and you expect Kwan Williams to be in the fold, they'll at least be average in their defensive backfield. I think we saw how physical they can be getting after opposing quarterbacks, and I really believe 49ers fans will travel well. It won't be the sea of red that we saw against the Rams on Sunday, but I think the San Francisco team can use that momentum of the second half against the Rams, pull off the upset here and potentially be a real thorn in Green Bay's side in the divisional playoff.
My favorite pick of the week is the 49ers. So you won't need the 3 points. They're going to win the game outright. When you watch the 49ers the last 3 weeks, they've been really, really improved on the defensive side of the ball. They dominated the Rams' offensive line last week. And it was not just Nick Bosa either. It was across the board. You had guys like Armstead and Street and Reed. They just got push after push after push. And I put that on Twitter if you want to take a look at it. It was amazing. It was so bad that Matt Stafford had people in his face the entire game. And I think they can do that to Dak Prescott. The other thing to watch here is the 49ers run the ball. We know that. That's their whole identity. If you go back a couple weeks ago when the Denver Broncos beat the Dallas Cowboys, they ran it down their throats. And I think that's the situation here. Dallas is little on defense. They're fast, they're athletic, they can attack the quarterback. But if you run at them, they're going to have problems. I think the 49ers win this game outright. You won't need the 3 points, but take them if they give them to you.
All right, well, if you want to go money line, plus 145 for the 49ers to beat the Cowboys there on the road at AT&T Stadium. Nightcap takes us to Arrowhead, takes Kansas City. They're going to look to take down Big Ben Roethlisberger. 12.5-point favorites against Roethlisberger and the Steelers. It's likely the final game of Big Ben's Hall of Fame career, and he knows it's a double-digit spread. Sarcastically said they were 20-point dogs. Also said, quote, "We don't have a chance, so let's just go in and have fun," end quote. Pete, what are the chances you're giving Big Ben and the Steelers in this game?
Well, I don't think they're going to win the game, but there's too much pride and too much history and too much good coaching for them to get blown out of this game. I think they're going to hang around. I know they got blown out the last time they were there. They were down some guys in that game. I think they're going to be much more physical this time around. And remember, the Chiefs the last couple weeks have not been that good on defense. So you saw Denver run on them. You saw Cincinnati throw on them. They've had problems on the defensive end of the ball. The Steelers can't stop anybody's run game. But you know what? The Chiefs, A, don't run it, and B, if they do run it, that's good for you because that takes the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. So I think the Steelers will hang around. The number is bloated. Give me the Steelers plus the points.
And I'm right there with you, Pete. I make this game a shade more than 10, so I'll take the points with the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. Do I think they can win the game outright? Probably not. They're going to need a lot of things to break their way. But at the same time, this is a Kansas City offense that's not clicking on all cylinders because they probably won't be fully healthy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire missed practice on Thursday. Tyreek Hill, who was allegedly a full participant on Wednesday, was downgraded to limited on Thursday. And I think that heel injury is a lot bigger deal than they're letting on. The Steelers did limit Hill's effectiveness the first time around. They were beaten by the likes of Byron Pringle and, of course, backup tight ends in the absence of Travis Kelce. But this is a Steelers team who can play loose. And while I do worry about Najee Harris and what he's going to be able to contribute with that elbow injury, I think they can go in there, play free and easy. When you talk about Big Ben mentioning the point spread, they know what they're up against. There's absolutely zero pressure on them. Honestly, guys, my biggest concern in this spot is can Mike Tomlin stay awake until this game goes final, something he wasn't able to do watching the Raiders and Chargers last Sunday night.
Plus 550 on the money line for the Steelers, so that'd be a massive payout. But hey, I guess it could happen because there's odds. So there's odds, there's chances. All right, then we've got our first Monday night playoff game, an NFC West showdown as the Rams host the Cardinals. A bit of news: safety Eric Weddle coming out of retirement, signed with the Rams after the season-ending injury to Jordan Fuller. Now consider this: the magic number for the Rams is 24 points allowed. When LA allows 24 or fewer, they're 12-0 this season. When they allow 25 or more, they're 0-5. Rams are 4-point favorites. Todd, how do you see this game playing out with Matthew Stafford looking for the first playoff win of his NFL career?
Well, for me, Hakeem, the magic number in this game will be 22.5, and that's Arizona's team total, a number that I'm going to go under because I think this Rams defense will be up for the task. They had to be disappointed with how they were gashed in the second half by the San Francisco 49ers, including the game-winning drive where they offered next to nothing in terms of resistance. When you look at the recent history between these teams, other than the season-opening matchup that came back in Week 4, Arizona has really struggled to figure out what the Rams want to do defensively. They've been struggled to slow down the Rams' offense as well. And with this Cardinals team going to battle with two running backs that can be banged up in Chase Edmonds and James Conner, no DeAndre Hopkins still in the fold, I really think they're going to have some major problems consistently sustaining drives against this Rams defensive front. I don't love what I've seen from the Rams on a week-to-week basis, but this does feel a little like a buy low spot, and there's no doubt a correlation. If the Rams are going to cover as 4-point favorites, it's going to be because their defense rises to the occasion. I'll take Arizona's team total under 22.5. I don't think the Cardinals get north of 20.
I don't think either team's going over their numbers. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game. When you watch these two teams, their offensive lines, both of them have been bad. I think the defenses are going to dominate here. Arizona, they throw a bunch of different looks at you on defense. And last week, the Rams had all kinds of problems with the stunts and loops and movement up front by the 49ers. That could be a problem for Matt Stafford. On the other side, the Arizona offense has not looked that good in the last 5-6 weeks. They got to pick it up a little bit. The Rams are good on defense, but they're little. You can run on them a little bit. So I think this game's going to go under the total, but I will take the 4 points as well. I'll take Arizona and the under in this one.
Pete, you got a nice trend. Cardinals 6-0 straight up and against the spread as a road underdog this season. Todd Furhman, Pete Prisco breaking down Super Wildcard Weekend for us here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you, man. Here's a look back at their selections. Raiders and Bengals kick it off on Saturday. Todd likes the under 49. Pete's going to take the points with Vegas as well as the under. Bills and Patriots. Todd likes the over of 44. Pete's going to lay the points with the Bills. Eagles and Bucks. Todd likes the over there of 46. Pete likes Philadelphia getting 8.5. Both agree on San Francisco. Pete even said San Francisco is going to win this game. You want to play the money line, that's plus 145 on the 49ers. Both like Pittsburgh getting the points, 12.5 in what's likely to be Ben Roethlisberger's final game of his Hall of Fame career. Cardinals and Rams on Monday night. Todd Furhman taking Arizona's team total under 22.5. Pete likes Arizona getting 4 and the under of 49.5.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.